Aishvaryasya vibhooshanam sujanataa shauriyasya vaksamyamognanasyopasamashrutasya vinayo vittasya patre vyayaha akrodhastapasah kshama prabhaviturddharmasya nirvyajata sarveshamapi sarvakaranamidam sheelam param bhooshanam.
Today we sit with one of the most beloved verses of Bhartrihari from his Niti Shataka, his century of verses on wise conduct. It ends with three words that generations of students in India have carried in their hearts. Sheelam param bhooshanam. Character is the supreme ornament. Let me first give you the verse in simple sounds. Aishvaryasya vibhooshanam sujanataa, शौर्यस्य वाक् संयम, ज्ञानस्य उपशम, श्रुतस्य विनय, वित्तस्य पात्रे व्यय, अक्रोधः तपस, क्षमा प्रभवितु, धर्मस्य निर्व्याजता, सर्वेषाम् अपि सर्वकारणम्, इदं शीलं परं भूषणम्. Word by word, it unfolds like a string of pearls. Aishvaryasya vibhooshanam sujanataa. The ornament of power and lordship is sujanataa, graciousness, the quality of being a good person to others. Shauryasya vak samyama. The ornament of valor is restraint of speech. The word samyama comes from the root yam, to rein in, the same word used for the reins of a chariot. The truly brave hold the reins of their own tongue. Jnanasya upashama. The ornament of knowledge is upashama, tranquility, from the root sham, to become calm. Shrutasya vinaya. The ornament of learning is vinaya, humility, and vinaya comes from a lovely root meaning to lead. Humility is that which leads a person rightly. Vittasya patre vyaya. The ornament of wealth is spending it on a patra, a worthy vessel, a deserving recipient. Akrodaha tapasa. The ornament of austerity is freedom from anger. Kshama prabhavitu. The ornament of the mighty is kshama, forgiveness. Dharmasya nirvyajata. The ornament of righteousness is nirvyajata, sincerity, freedom from pretense. And then the crown of the verse. Sarvesham api sarvakaranam, idam sheelam param bhooshanam. Of all of these, the cause of them all is this one thing, sheela, character, and that is the supreme ornament. Now, who is speaking to us? Bhartrihari, by tradition a king of Ujjain who renounced his throne. The legend says he was given a fruit of immortality, gave it lovingly to his queen, who gave it to the man she loved, who gave it to another woman, until the same fruit returned to the king's own hand. Seeing the circle of deception, he walked away from the palace. Whether or not the story is history, the voice in these verses is unmistakably that of a man who once had everything: power, pleasure, learning, and is now telling us honestly what each thing was actually worth. And notice his quiet subversion. His audience was a courtly world obsessed with ornament, jewels to signal power, boasts to signal courage, quotations to signal learning. Bhartrihari keeps their favorite word, ornament, but he turns it inside out. An ornament is normally something added. Every ornament in this verse is a restraint. Less arrogance in power, fewer words in valor, less agitation in knowledge, less pride in learning, less hoarding in wealth, less anger in discipline, less vengeance in strength, less performance in piety. He is teaching us that excellence is completed not by adding more of itself, but by adding its own counterweight. Look closer and you see each pairing is a precise medicine. Every strength has its own characteristic disease. Power decays into cruelty, so its ornament is graciousness. Valor decays into boasting, so its ornament is silence. Knowledge decays into restlessness and argument. And here is a startling claim: knowledge that has not made you calmer is not yet knowledge. Learning decays into pride, which is why the old proverb says, Vidya dadati vinayam. True learning bestows humility. Wealth decays into hoarding or vulgar display, so its ornament is discerning generosity, not careless giving, but giving to a worthy vessel. Austerity decays into irritability. India has always known the archetype of the angry ascetic, ready to curse at the smallest slight, whose discipline burned the body but never touched the ego. Might decays into vengeance, and so its ornament is forgiveness, because only the powerful can truly forgive. The helpless merely submit. And righteousness decays into performance, goodness done for an audience, which is why its ornament is sincerity with no hidden motive. Then comes the turn. After 8 pairings, Bhartrihari says these are not 8 separate achievements to collect. Sheela, character, is the cause of all 8. And the word sheela itself comes from a root meaning to practice habitually. Character is not a gift you are born with. It is the sediment of repeated action. This is the most hopeful idea in the whole verse, because a practice is available to anyone willing to practice. The world's wisdom traditions echo him. Aristotle taught that we become just by doing just acts, habit hardening into character, almost a Greek translation of Sheela. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor writing private notes on patience and restraint, was living this verse on a Roman throne. And modern psychology agrees from another direction. Boasting is a cheap signal, easily faked, while quiet restraint from genuine strength is the credible one, which is why understated competence always reads as more trustworthy than advertised competence. Researchers even find that confidence peaks when knowledge is shallow and returns as humility with real mastery. Humility, it turns out, is the measurable signature of deep learning, exactly as Bhartrihari said. So, how do we live this? Let me leave you with 3 questions and 1 practice. First, take your greatest strength, your ability, your knowledge, your resources, your position, and find its pair in the verse. Is the ornament present? Second, ask where you are decorating from the outside. Titles, purchases, credentials, to cover for an ornament that should be inner. And third, the sincerity test. Of the good things you did this week, how many would you still have done if no one could ever know? The practice is simple. Choose the one pairing that stung the most and practice only that ornament for 7 days in small repetitions. If it is restraint of speech, go a week without mentioning your own achievements. If it is humility, say the words I don't know out loud once a day when they are true. If it is freedom from anger, give every provocation 24 hours before you respond and watch how often the anger dies before the deadline. If it is sincerity, do one good act this week that no one can ever trace back to you. Bhartrihari promises that tending this one root strengthens all the branches. Test that promise in your own life. Jewels are borrowed, titles expire, wealth changes hands, but sheelam, param bhooshanam. Character is the one ornament that cannot be taken from you because you made it yourself, one practiced act at a time.
ऐश्वर्यस्य विभूषणं सुजनता शौर्यस्य वाक्सम्यमोज्ञानस्योपशमः श्रुतस्य विनयो वित्तस्य पात्रे व्ययः अक्रोधस्तपसः क्षमा प्रभवितुर्धर्मस्य निर्व्याजता सर्वेषामपि सर्वकारणमिदं शीलं परं भूषणम्